Hey guys, what's up? It's 2020, first episode of the new decade, and we're talking about mega trends for the next 10 years. You don't want to miss it. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the 88 Show. This is the internet's only dental show where we talk about what matters most in marketing. Guys, I'm your host, Joshua Scott. This is episode 122. Coming at you, very first episode of 2020. Got all the twos dropping. Wanted to come at you with a topic this month. I was actually thinking, it's 2020. What are the top marketing trends for 2020? I thought that's a really good topic and it's probably worth talking about, and it gets all the clicks because people like that. But I also thought, what would be some bigger trends happening across the country, the nation, the world that we could look at and almost identify some mega trends? Mega trends. We should do something really sweet with that. I don't know. No, it's totally obnoxious. And I did it like that on purpose. But I am, if you've ever taken Strength Finders, my number one is futurist. My number two is strategist. And so if you put those together, man, I'm real okay with looking far out and then going, how do we get there? And so this month, wanted to talk about mega trends that are shaping the next decade in business, in life, and then have a conversation about, okay, what does that do to our marketing over the next 10 years by 2030? All right, so let's jump into it. Mega trends for the next decade. Trend number one, population increase. Population increase. Over the next decade, we are going to continue to see a rise in population across the globe. 1 billion plus more of us. Numbers projected by 2030 is 8.5 billion people. I know a lot of people talk about depopulation and what that's happening right now with birth rates. That won't come into effect for a few decades later. But in the meantime, man, we're gonna see the largest baby boomer generation, the largest generation over 65 ever in US history. We're also seeing the millennial generation, the biggest generation ever, take their place as the main economic force in our country. So what does that mean for marketing? Guys, it's real simple. It means practices will continue to grow. More people means practices grow. And so we're going to continue to see this expansion and consolidation of group practices. We'll also see the startup boom continue. And we'll also just see private practice, solo practice continue to grow. When population increases, businesses grow. There's no difference with practices. The way you take advantage of that is to make sure you're getting your message out there, getting your brand out there. Honestly, the only ones that suffer from this are those that don't do any marketing. So number one, population increase. Number two, climate change. Climate change. Regardless of what the current administration tells you, climate change is a big deal. I don't know if I can say that or not. We're getting a little political on the show. Do you believe it? Do you? But do I believe it? Yeah, and so look, no, what we do know, we're not certain how all this plays out, but what we are certain of is climate change is going to become a big deal. Right now with advanced technology and big data, we are actually going to know in the next 10 years what's actually happening and then what we can do about it. And so businesses will be at the forefront of this. Going green isn't going to be a slick marketing strategy anymore. It's going to be expected. Businesses are a major influencer in this country. They're going to be expected to step up and take the lead on this, okay? So where does this come into your marketing strategy? How does it affect it? Man, no more direct mail, right? I mean, I'm actually kind of joking, but no, seriously, in light of this, what's happening in this conversation, can you imagine just printing off tens of thousands of direct mail pieces and just blasting communities? I think this literally could be the final decline of direct mail. But also, here's the thing, whereas technology, we've marketed our cool dental technology for the past 10 years. I think the next 10 years, we're gonna be talking about our global responsibility, our environmental consciousness, those types of things, sustainability will be the topic in the forefront of our marketing strategies. So don't be afraid to say it and to get it out there, all right? Trend number two, climate change. Trend number three, increased transparency. increase transparency. One thing we know is that consumers, when given the choice between transparency and convenience, they choose convenience all the time. And that was proven in the last decade. This will only speed up in the next decade as big data starts to take over. I mean, as we start to pull this data in now from a national database, a global database, if you will, we'll actually see it start to change sociology. And social patterns that we've seen in the past will be altered because now we know how it plays out because we have the data behind it, right? And healthcare will be one of the main industries where this stands to profit as we get this comprehensive data on humans and what they're going through. And so it's going to become a big deal, but as consumers trade their privacy, they're going to expect a level of service in return. They want to know that there's respect. They want to be treated like they're human. Less fine print, less ambiguity, and more social proof, more reviews in that transaction. And so how does this affect your marketing? Transparency isn't going anywhere. I don't know that you have a choice. As healthcare professions, we have to be able to provide that to our patient base. We have to show them social proof. We have to show them reviews. Here's what's interesting. Lots of dental practices have neglected marketing or communicating to the millennial generation because they don't need a lot of dentistry right now. I hear this all the time. But what's happening in the meantime and in this next 10 years is if you neglect that conversation, now the millennials, as the major economic force that they will be, expect transparency and social proof and reviews. And if you don't start that conversation now, you're gonna find yourself left behind. So number 3, transparency. The last trend, acceleration of technology. And you might be saying, wait, I mean, technology is already accelerating fast. And you're right, this last decade, man, dentistry saw amazing tech, like a 4-time increase in tech. I mean, from 3D printing to cone beam to dental implants. It was really fun to watch and be a part of. But hold on, because I think this next decade, we're gonna see an 8-time increase in technology as it ramps up. And so all the tech in your office, the Internet of Things is coming around, and dental manufacturers and suppliers are racing to get equipment and technology to interact with and communicate to each other. And AI, it's a conversation that's been fun and it's been sci-fi and all that, but now as machines and equipment start talking to each other, we're now dealing with a language that we've never had before. And this conversation of AI in the next decade will become something more powerful and maybe even more threatening than we've ever seen. So how does this acceleration of technology affect your practice? Man, I think the more high tech things become, the more high touch is required. And so it's gonna be real fun to talk about the technology and integrate that in our practices and see the advancements of dentistry. At the same time, the practices that win are going to be the practices that speak human. The practices that win will be the ones that determine where that filter of tech and automation and efficiency stops and where humanity begins, and where that filter determines our standard of care, our communication, and our decisions with actual human patients, because we're never going to get away from that. All right, guys, that wraps up episode 122. Thanks so much for being here. Look, this next decade, man, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna take no small dose of courage on the part of a business owner, but man, we can face it. And if we know these trends, we can start to communicate in this way that's gonna set our businesses up for success. Before I go, I wanna leave you with a quote from the late, great Walt Disney, who leveraged technology to serve humanity with these amazing experiences. And he said this: "Around here, however, we don't look back for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." Guys, thanks so much for being here. Episode 122. Would love to connect with you online. Best place is at Instagram, at Joshua Scott. Hit me up, leave me a comment, give me a shout out, send me a question, all that. Guys, I'll see you on the next episode.